Hey, yo, welcome to another episode of The Hype Show. Thank you so much for joining me. I am Big J all day, aka the Mighty Big J. And again, this is The Hype Show. Thank you so much for joining me for another episode. If you are new to the channel, please subscribe to the channel and like and comment on this video. And this is not your first time, thank you again for joining me for another episode. This is episode 26. I was not on Tuesday, had a bunch of issues going on here, so I do apologize here. I was supposed to be on Tuesday, but we're going to add a little bit of what was supposed to be in Tuesday into this episode, so it'll be a little bit longer than normal. But definitely back, happy to be back and be back here with you guys here. Again, please subscribe to the channel if you're new to the channel here. We're going to start talking about the week 10 Monday Night Football matchup here. That was the most recent game that's taken place before tonight's matchup. The Week 10 Monday Night Football matchup between the Denver Broncos and the Buffalo Bills. And then we'll get into the Week 11 Thursday Night Football matchup between the Cincinnati Bengals and the Baltimore Ravens. And then we'll kind of go over predictions for the rest of the schedule for Week 11, including the Sunday Night Football game and the Monday Night Football game. And we'll also touch on the teams who are on a bye week. The teams that are not playing this week are the Atlanta Falcons, the Indianapolis Colts, the New England Patriots, and the New Orleans Saints. Those teams are on a bye week this week. So like I said, we're going to start with the Week 10 matchup between the Denver Broncos and the Buffalo Bills. That was on Monday Night Football a few nights ago, and Denver got the win by the final of 24-22. They have now won 3 games in a row after starting the season 1-5. And as far as the Buffalo Bills go, they fall to 5-5 on the season. They fall to 500. And it kind of puts their hopes of getting a playoff spot on a doubt here, because they've started out the season kind of iffy as well. So 5-5 here for the Buffalo Bills, a team that definitely had high expectations. And this was something that I touched on the Sunday broadcast, that they definitely need to win that game, because if they don't, they're going to put themselves further back of the Dolphins without the Dolphins having even played in Week 10. And that's precisely what's happening here. The Dolphins were on a bye Week 10, so they didn't play anybody. They still sit at 6-3. Like I said, Buffalo is now 5-5, a game and a half back of the Dolphins. The Jets are 4-5, and the New England Patriots are at 2-8 at the bottom. Of the division. This was bad for the Buffalo Bills here. As far as the Denver Broncos here, they've redeemed themselves a bit in my eyes here. I have a lot more hope for them than I did prior, because with 1-5, that's not good. That's not a great way to start, but with the victories they have here with the Packers and Chiefs prior to their bye week, and then coming off their bye week and winning the Monday Night Football game, that's definitely got them kind of in a better position than they may have been. They're still towards the bottom of the conference because there's so many good teams, but it puts them in a better spot to make a run towards the end of the season. Like I said, the Denver Broncos improved to 4-5, winning their 3 straight after having a 1-5 start. They still sit at the bottom of the division with the LA Chargers at 4-5. The LA Chargers have the tiebreaker to their strength of victories. The Las Vegas Raiders sit half a game above them at 5-5, and the Chiefs lead the division at 7-2. They're also coming off of a bye week as well here. The Denver Broncos, to me, what's happened is a combination of a couple things here. The Denver Broncos defense has definitely played a lot better the last few weeks, going all the way back to even the Kansas City game. Even at Kansas City, the game that they had week 6 where they lost by a final of 19-8, they still kept the defense, kept the offense of Patrick Mahomes and them in check. They only allowed 17 versus Green Bay in a victory. They allowed 9 to Kansas City again in the second time around in their home game prior to their bye week. And then last week against Buffalo, at Buffalo, you hold them to 22 points. The Buffalo Bills, what I saw with them is exactly something else I talked about in the previous broadcast. Josh Allen can be very turnover prone. And that's exactly what cost this team. He had 2 interceptions and also had the fumble. He had 3 turnovers for this team, the Buffalo Bills, this past week. And as far as I'm concerned, the Buffalo Bills are in trouble now, because there's a couple of things working against them at this time here. You have a couple of key injuries on defense currently that are affecting you as well, with Tre'Davious White and Matt Milano both being out for the season. Those things are starting to hurt you. Von Miller is back, but is he really back? He's one of the older players in football at this current time. And secondly, their run game is not very effective. Damian Harris was a part of that before he went out with the neck and head injury, but it wasn't even great with him in the lineup to begin with. And Josh Allen, he has a tendency to want to do everything. He wants to take off and run with the football. He wants to throw the balls down the field. He kind of reminds me of a new generation version of Brett Favre, like the gunslinger that wants to make the play down the field and can be very, very, very careless with the football as opposed to being more cautious and taking the safer play. And that's what I'm seeing a lot of with Josh Allen. They also have the oldest roster in all of football as well, so that's another thing that works against them. You have injuries, you have a quarterback that's very turnover prone, and then you have an old roster. So that's a bad combination here. The Bills are 3 and they've lost 3 of their last 4 games after starting the season 4-2. They play the Jets. They're hosting the Jets this coming Sunday at 4:25 p.m. Eastern on CBS before they travel to Philadelphia November 26th at 4:25 p.m. Eastern on CBS. They then have their bye week, week 13. Then they come back from their bye week and they're at the Kansas City Chiefs December 10th, 4:25 p.m. Eastern on CBS. They host the Dallas Cowboys 4:25 p.m. Eastern on Fox. Then on December 23rd here, that game's taking place on a Saturday. They're at the Los Angeles Chargers, December 23rd. Again, that's 8 p.m. Eastern. The network is to be determined. It doesn't state a network yet. But the Buffalo Bills, the crazy thing about that is with you losing to Cincinnati and losing to Denver, that kind of puts you in a hole as far as a couple things. As far as the overall standings, again, they're out of the playoff spots at this current time right now. If the playoffs were to start today, they'd be on the outside looking in. And also that the Denver Broncos, that was supposed to be a gimme. If you were looking at the schedule about a month ago, you would say the Bills had that. And I honestly thought the Bills would win the game close, and I was wrong about that. The Denver came up and they showed up. They didn't play amazing, but they definitely outplayed the Bills. The Bills were very careless with the football, and the Broncos were very opportunistic and made plays when they needed to. So kudos to Denver, man. They were left for dead a few weeks ago because of how things were going, especially when you have a 70-20 game. But that game feels like a lifetime ago now compared to how they've been playing. So the Denver Broncos host the Minnesota Vikings this Sunday for Sunday Night Football, November 19th, 8:20 p.m. Eastern on NBC, so another primetime game for them. They'll be hosting the Cleveland Browns the following Sunday, November 26th at 4:05 p.m. Eastern on Fox, before traveling to face the Houston Texans December 3rd, 4:05 p.m. Eastern on CBS. Then they're also at the Los Angeles Chargers December 10th, 4:25 p.m. Eastern CBS. Then they travel to take on the Detroit Lions December 17th, with the time and network to be determined. So Broncos got a couple of home games here coming back from Buffalo, but they're back on the road for 3 straight road games to start December. So that makes things a little bit tougher. Can the Broncos travel and get some victories? This was just their second road win of the season for the Denver Broncos, so they're 2-2 on the road. We'll have to see how they do on the road because that's actually a little better than what they've done at home. The Broncos had lost their first 3 games at home before beating the Packers and Chiefs back to back. So Broncos have a little bit better road work than they do at home. They're 2-2 at home, but 2-2 on the road, but 2-3 at home. So if the Broncos can get that going and get a couple of home games victories under their belt again, that'll help build that momentum. Minnesota, Joshua Dobbs is playing great football for them, only having been there 2 games. He's just now probably getting to know his teammates' names, coaches' names, things of that nature. So it's just amazing to me that he's had that much success with very little preparation. That just goes to show how great he is. And he's an astrophysicist. So when I found that out, I'm like, oh, yeah, his brain just works differently than a lot of normal common people do. So it's not too surprising. For normal quarterbacks, it would take a lot more time to get acclimated, even the best quarterbacks. So kudos to them. The Minnesota Vikings, they're back in the mix as far as a playoff run as well. So Denver might want to be careful. I'm not sure if Justin Jefferson will be back for that game, but the Broncos might want to be careful with the Minnesota Vikings regardless. The running game is probably the only thing I see with Minnesota that's not very strong, in my opinion. If Joshua Dobbs does the scrambling for them, that's probably what will get them their rushing yards because Madison just hasn't been that great for them, and I've harped on that all season. But as far as the passing game here, they've found ways to get it done without Justin Jefferson. They're actually undefeated since he's been hurt, which is amazing to me. I thought that would hurt them a couple of games, but even with the transition from Kirk Cousins to Joshua Dobbs at quarterback, with Kirk Cousins going out for the season, Minnesota hasn't missed a beat. They're back in the mix as well. So this is a very important game for each team. Minnesota has more of a shot than Denver does right now, statistically speaking, as far as the standings go. But, if Denver brings their A game, they'll get their fourth straight victory, in my opinion. But we'll just have a see. We'll have to see. I'll have an official prediction for you on Sunday. But excuse me, I just had to point out that game is going to be coming up here. As far as Cleveland the following week, Deshaun Watson it was announced yesterday he's going to be out for the season. He has actually a fracture in his shoulder, his throwing shoulder that was revealed, and he's going to need immediate surgery on that because it's a displaced fracture. What I hear that means is that when it's a displaced fracture, it's something that they have to fix immediately to provide stability back into the shoulder. Whereas non-displaced fractures, it's not necessarily something that's going to affect ability as far as stability or mobility, but still nevertheless needs to be fixed to make sure that it's fully structurally sound. So that was very interesting to find that out. But yeah, the Browns won't have Deshaun Watson next week. And so that game is going to be probably more defensive based for the Broncos, the Denver versus Cleveland game, because Dorian Thompson Robinson doesn't really scare anybody. It's going to be a situation where Denver's going to do what they need to do on offense. So Russell Wilson will need to be the better quarterback that day for them to get the victory. He's having a great season. He has 18 passing touchdowns. And in 2022, all of 2022, he only had 16. So keep that in mind. Russell Wilson is having a better year. As far as making it a situation where Russell Wilson is leading the charge, we're still waiting for that aspect. We haven't really seen that all the way yet. He made some nifty plays, like that pass to Cortland Sutton for the touchdown in that Buffalo game was pretty sweet. Nice toe tapping by Cortland Sutton. That was amazing. It's just amazing to me. He makes some amazing catches, but some of the standard normal catches he needs to make, he doesn't make those. It's kind of odd. It's kind of confounding, but nevertheless. To sum it all up, looking at the Broncos over the next 5 games here, starting with this Sunday, the next 2 games are winnable, but they're going to be tough, in my opinion. All of their games, going all the way up to Detroit, at Detroit, are in that same boat. So as far as the Denver Broncos, I really can't say what they'll be as far as record, because Kansas City and Buffalo, those I classify as upsets. Those are huge upsets over those teams. Whether Mahomes was sick or Allen was turning the ball over, wins are wins. So as far as the Broncos go, again, I'll have an official prediction for you on Sunday. But if they keep playing ball like this, they could go 3-2 in the next 5 games. I don't see them winning at Detroit. And then at the Chargers can make mistakes too. But if the Chargers get up for this game here, knowing that it's a divisional game and it's toward the end of the year and it'll get them right for the wild card standings, I can see that being a tough game for Denver too. So we'll talk more about Denver here towards the end of Sunday's broadcast. I'll have a prediction for the game for you for that. Looking at the Bills, though, going back to the Bills and their schedule, to be honest with you, like I said here, they host the Jets Sunday, then they're at the Eagles before going into their bye week. Those are tough games because, again, the Jets already beat them to start the season, and this time with them, even with them hosting the Jets, that doesn't mean anything. I know they're 4-1 at home. This was their first home loss, the Denver Broncos. They had beaten Tampa, the Giants, the Dolphins, and the Vegas Raiders prior to that. And so this was their first home loss of the season, but I still could see the Jets coming in there and giving them a tough game. I'll have a prediction for you on Sunday. If the Buffalo loses this, they'll really be in trouble. I mean, at 5-5 right now, the situation is dire anyway because you have 7 games left. But 5-6 would be just detrimental because the best you could do at that point is 11-6, and you would have to run the table with the Chiefs and with the Cowboys on your schedule, and that's just not going to happen. So we'll just have to see here. I'll give you an official prediction for that one as well on Sunday, but at Philly is going to be very tough. The Eagles are going to give them a tough time. And then even coming off the bye week at Kansas City, that's a hostile environment. And I could see Josh Allen seeing ghosts because that's his biggest playoff game, and that's his loss there. His loss was there. Even last year with losing to Cincinnati, that game a few years ago in Kansas City on the way to the AFC Championship game for Kansas City, that game hurts. And then the year before that, when they were in the AFC Championship and the Chiefs went to the Super Bowl, those games haunt Josh Allen. So we'll just have to see. But the Buffalo Bills, again, they've lost 3 of their last 4 games. They're really in a dire situation here, and they really got to get those wins here. I'm switching gears. The next game we're going to talk about here, again, the Thursday night matchup here that's going to kick off Week 11. That game is between the Cincinnati Bengals and the Baltimore Ravens. The Ravens will be hosting the Bengals at M&T Bank Stadium. That game is going to be at 8:15 p.m. Eastern on Prime Video, so about an hour or so from now. They'll probably have the pregame talk right now going on here if you want to go check that out. But stay here with me. But yeah, the deal here is this here. The Baltimore Ravens at 7-3, they lead a very tight division here because the Bengals at 5-4, they sit at the bottom of the division with the Pittsburgh Steelers and Cleveland Browns sitting in the middle at 6-3. So this division, as I've stated all season, very muddled, very cluttered, very, very, very tight. The Cincinnati Bengals, this is a must win for them more so even than Baltimore because Baltimore still leads the division right now by a half game over the Steelers and Browns. A win tonight for Baltimore will put them a full game ahead of the Steelers and the Browns, but a loss brings them kind of back to the pack, if you will. Whereas with Cincinnati, this is more dire because a couple of things are at play here. Again, you're sitting in last place already, so this will further cement that position because you'll then be a game and a half out. And on top of that, they're the only team in the division that's winless in their division against the other division rivals. The Pittsburgh Steelers are 2-0 division wise. Baltimore is 2-2 and Cleveland is 2-2. And they each all have 4 conference wins. So not only do they have better divisional records, but they're better in the conference. All these things matter when it comes to tiebreakers if they're necessary towards the end of the year. So Cincinnati, they need to win tonight. They need this more so than Baltimore, although Baltimore is not going to lay down for anybody and they would love to have it. So tonight's game is going to be very, very crucial for the Cincinnati Bengals. If the Ravens get a leg up on this team at all running the football and they get a nice cushion at 10 points, 14 points, Cincinnati's going to be in trouble because of the fact that they're on the road again for another game. So, me personally, I need Cincinnati to step up and play great football, especially that Joe Burrow to Chase connection because T. Higgins is going to be out tonight. You're not going to have him. He's listed as out for tonight's game. He's inactive. Sam Hubbard, the defensive end, is also, inactive again for tonight's game as well. So you're going to be missing key players on both sides of the football, So Cincinnati needs this game tonight. The Cincinnati Bengals in 10 days will host the Pittsburgh Steelers at November 26, 1 p.m. Eastern on CBS, so that's another divisional matchup. They then travel to Jacksonville for Monday Night Football on December 4th, 8:15 p.m. Eastern on ABC. 6 days later, Saturday, December 10th, they have a game. Sunday, December 10th, 1 p.m. Eastern on CBS. They have a game hosting the Indianapolis Colts. And then the following week, they host the Minnesota Vikings December 17th with the time and network to be determined. So that's to be determined as far as additional aspects in that regard. So after tonight, even Cincinnati, they still have another couple of divisional matchups coming up here. They haven't played Pittsburgh yet. They have still 2 of those. And then on the last week of the season, they host the Cleveland Browns. So that's how the season will be for them. They'll bookend AFC North matchups. So tonight is crucial. You already lost the first matchup back in week 2, so that'll put you in the holes. You'll already lose the tiebreaker to Baltimore. And then again, you haven't played Pittsburgh yet, and you've already lost this Cleveland matchup. So they need this win tonight. The Bengals need this win tonight. And if they play with the urgency that they need to, they'll get the victory. Like I said, if Baltimore wins, they're going to just be in a better position to solidify where they already are. But Cincinnati, they'll probably be pretty much out of it, in my opinion, because even if you finish strong, those tiebreakers are going to come back to haunt you when it comes to seeding because you're not going to win the division if you lose to Baltimore twice. So Cincinnati, just off the strength of their need for this game, I'm going to give them a shot to win this game by 4 points. But if Baltimore blows the doors off this team, you can just cancel Christmas for Cincinnati because, like I said, the rest of these games here, like Pittsburgh is a divisional game. Sure, you'll have 2 of those left, but Jacksonville, Indy, Minnesota, Kansas City, those games are more for the standings on your own because Jacksonville, Indy, and Kansas City, those are going to be conference matchups to improve that aspect of your record, But Minnesota and Minnesota's an NFC team, and that's not going to really affect you except for again your overall standing. So this game is very must win. This is win or go home in a sense for Cincinnati, even though there's so many weeks left. It's just the way that their schedule is shaping up with the teams that they have left that makes this more dire. And like I said, for Baltimore, this is just to be another feather in their cap, pun intended, and it'll keep them where they need to be as far as the situation goes, as far as them leading the division. The Baltimore Ravens, they, to me, have a solid defense. They're one of the top 3 defenses in the league. But if they can get much more consistent play out of Lamar Jackson, that'll mean the world to them because they have a couple of guys that are inactive as well, like Marlon Humphrey, the cornerback. He's inactive with a hamstring issue. your left tackle Ronnie Stanley is going to miss a fifth straight game with the knee issues he's having as well. So again, for the Baltimore Ravens, 10 days later, they have Sunday night football matchup at the Los Angeles Chargers. That's November 26th at 8:20 p.m. Eastern on NBC before they go into their bye week. They then host the Los Angeles Rams December 10th, 1 p.m. Eastern on Fox before traveling on the road their next couple of games. They're at the Jacksonville Jaguars 8:20 p.m. Eastern on December 17th on NBC. Then on Christmas Day at 8:15 p.m. Eastern on NBC, a Monday Night Football matchup there at the San Francisco 49ers. So the Ravens got a couple of games that are tough on their own, but the situation, again, like I said, is less dire for them in comparison to Cincinnati. So after the Cincinnati game tonight, they'll be at the Chargers, and I think they'll take that game heading into their bye week. And having a late bye week, that'll kind of recharge the batteries and give them that push for weeks 14 through 18 to close out the season strong. So week 13, that bye week, is one of the later bye weeks. I would be curious to if I wish I could do a survey for all the players in the league and find out when they like their bye weeks. Do they want like an early bye week like the Chargers had, like a week 5 bye week? Or do you want like a week 13 bye week like the Ravens and Bills will have, for example? That's just kind of an interesting way because one bye week, as far as I'm concerned, for a sport like this is not enough. You're just barely getting back right. Then you got to go out there and get and bang around again. Pause, you know? So for me, again, the Baltimore Ravens, I'm only picking Cincinnati out of the dire situation. But if Baltimore blows their doors off, I wouldn't be shocked by that because they blow away teams, more so in the NFC than the AFC. But nevertheless, they know how to handle business when they need to. So give me again Cincinnati by 4 points tonight, but the rest of the way with the Chargers and the Rams, for example, I can see the Ravens taking those games, and even the Jacksonville game. I'll have a prediction for you when December 17th comes around, but that's looking like a really nice game. That's not going to be a time zone issue at all. They're both Eastern time zone, so that won't affect them at all. It's just a trip down to Florida that more so than anything. So yeah, even if Baltimore does lose tonight, they'll win their next couple of games, in my opinion, with the Chargers and the Rams, for sure. So Baltimore will be fine. It's just more of a situation of staying afloat and staying atop with Kansas City that Baltimore is looking at. You don't want to overlook other things, but in Baltimore's case, they're just trying to stay at the top of the conference and also their division at the same time. Cincinnati is trying to stay afloat, so that's why there's more desperation there. Looking at the rest of the schedule, I'm just going to read off the games that are coming up here on Sunday, November 19th here, and then also the Monday night football matchup as well here. All these games I'm going to give to you are at 1 p.m. Eastern on the various networks. The Pittsburgh Steelers are at the Cleveland Browns. That game will be taking place at CBS at Cleveland Browns Stadium. The Chicago Bears are at the Detroit Lions. That game's taking place on Fox, and that game will be at Ford Field in Detroit, Michigan. The Los Angeles Chargers are traveling to take on the Green Bay Packers at Lambeau Field, Green Bay, Wisconsin. The Las Vegas Raiders are at the Miami Dolphins here. That game will be taking place at Hard Rock Hard Rock Stadium in Miami Gardens. That game will be on CBS. The New York Giants are at the Washington Commanders in the NFC East matchup taking place on Fox at FedEx Field, Landover, Maryland. The Dallas Cowboys will be at the Carolina Panthers. That game will also be on Fox. That game's taking place at Bank of America Stadium in Charlotte. The Tennessee Titans will be at the Jacksonville Jaguars. That game will be on CBS, taking place at Everbank Stadium. And lastly, the Arizona Cardinals will be at the Houston Texans. That game takes place on CBS, and it'll be at NRG Stadium in Houston. The 4:05 p.m. matchup here, that's the Tampa Bay Buccaneers at the San Francisco 49ers. That game will be taking place on Fox. The New York Jets will be at the Buffalo Bills. That game will be taking place at 4:25 p.m. Eastern on CBS. The Seattle Seahawks will be at the Los Angeles Rams, 4:25 p.m. Eastern as well. That also will be on CBS. That'll be at SoFi Stadium. The Sunday night football matchup here I just touched on a bit ago. The Minnesota Vikings will be at the Denver Broncos. That game will be on NBC at 8:20 p.m. Eastern, taking place at Empower Field at Mile High in Denver. And lastly, the Monday night football matchup is a rematch of last year's Super Bowl. That'll be the Philadelphia Eagles traveling to take on the Kansas City Chiefs. That game will be simulcast on ABC and ESPN at 8:15 p.m. Eastern, Monday, November the 20th. Again, the teams not playing this week are the Atlanta Falcons, the Indianapolis Colts, the New England Patriots, and the New Orleans Saints. Those teams are on a bye week for Week 11. Like I said, if you're new to the channel, please be sure to subscribe to the channel and also make sure to like and comment on this and subscribe, and also it also helps the channel out very well. So I appreciate when you like and comment on these videos very much here. Typically, again, Thursday's broadcasts are going to be much more abbreviated than the normal Sunday or Tuesday broadcast here. And I did touch on the Monday Night Football game since I didn't get to broadcast for you guys on Tuesday. I will be back on Sunday here with a bigger, fuller broadcast to kind of go over again all these games for you that are taking place, and then I'll have a prediction for you, and then kind of prognosticate each team's schedule a few weeks out just to kind of see where they be and where they'll stand at that current time for you. And I'll also go over the results and statistics for the Cincinnati at Baltimore game taking place tonight here. There are no more international games. I know there were a few of those that took place in England and took place in Germany, but those are done, so we won't have any more of those to discuss. So everything is just kind of be normal scheduling going forward. And one thing I did notice about week 12, the week 12 schedule starting on Thanksgiving, coming up November 23rd, a week from today. Thanksgiving is a week from today. That's crazy to me. I remember the 4th of July, and I got to start preparing the turkey already this weekend. But you're looking at the schedule starting for Thanksgiving for week 12. There are no bye weeks the following week at all. There's no bye week starting a week from Thursday to kick off week 12. So I feel like the NFL is doing their best to compete with the NBA schedule and just kind of beefing their schedule a bit. And also, for the first time in history, there's going to be a game on Black Friday, November 24th, between the Miami Dolphins and the New York Jets for week 12. So that's not this week coming up, but the following week, next week. So that's kind of interesting here. I'll definitely be paying attention to all the Thanksgiving games like I normally do. And I'll also keep in mind here that there's a Black Friday game, not to forget that here. But again, thank you so much here for joining me for another episode of The Hype Show. Be sure to subscribe to the channel here and like and comment on this video. I definitely appreciate it very much. Like I said, I'll be back on Sunday with another broadcast for you here. We'll go over everything that happens tonight between this game here, and also discuss everything going on as far as the schedule for Sunday and Monday night as well. Thank you so much again. My name is Big J All Day, aka the Mighty Big J, and this is The Hype Show. Thank you so much. You have a great night. Enjoy your weekend as well. We'll talk on Sunday. Take care. Peace.